growing case of homicide has dominated the headlines in recent months. Since January 2019, up to 40 women have been murdered by their significant others, individuals who they once held dear. What is even more peculiar is that majority of these deaths have befallen women between the ages of 20 to 35 years. Experts have blamed the trend on depression, drug abuse, and even harsh economic times. But does this really justify the increasing number of deaths among women? Are the murders pointing towards a specific issue that needs to be addressed with great urgency?
Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us today on Books and Blogs. My name is Catherine Mwangi. We want to have a conversation on the recent killings of females under 30 in this country. What is going on? What needs to be done? Who needs to do it? I have a panel that is mixed up of people from different sectors in our society. I will start with a man you know as @itsmutai on Twitter. He is the fearless, bold, he says it as it is. And he is a Twitter influencer, social media influencer, blogger, businessman. Welcome to the show. Looking forward. His full names are Abraham Mutai. Lord Abraham Mutai. Why do you call yourself Lord though?
It's a long story.
Ah, I want to hear that story. Then we have Rita Mudeu. Rita is a co-founder of Her Voice. Her Voice was founded by a group of women, her friends I assume, following the My Dress, My Choice campaign. She's also a human and gender rights activist. Welcome to the program, Rita.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Then we have Mr. James Nicole. He's the Director of Security at Centum Investments, and he is the Managing Director of Tribus TSG, which is a subsidiary of Centum Investments. Thank you for joining us, James. Good stuff. So, Abraham, I start with you. The women have been many. You remember we had Mercy Keino? Yes. Yes, the one who got into a grisly road accident. Was it on Wai? Not Wai. No, she was murdered in her apartment in Kilimani. Yeah. Then we had, no, Mercy was the Wayakiwe one. Yes. Karine Chepchumba is the one who was murdered in Kilimani, yes, in her house. All this is way back 2011, 2012. Then Diana Chemutai Rono, January 2016. We have Lucy, who died alongside Chris Musando, the former IBC official. Sharon Otieno, whom we all know, has his reasons. Monica Nyawera Kimani, recent again. KU graduate, Endina Nyainda. I mean, there's quite a number, and as recent as Ivy Wangeshi, and there's another one who died after Ivy. Like, I have a list of what, maybe 20 names? What's with this? And they're all under 30. So set it up for us, Mutai.
I come from a school of thought. I do not necessarily believe that things are quite so wrong, especially towards a girl child. But I believe that we are a culture that has been affected by many other cultures from outside. We had our own heritage, we had our own ways of doing things. We were an African culture before, and then now we have these other new cultures, like the Western culture, that are coming in. And I believe that we are somehow confused in a way we are supposed to be doing things, such a way that some voices are deemed, like more fitting in the society than others. I don't think that...
Give me an example of that.
An example of that.
The more important voices.
Right now it is somehow, and the panelists can correct me, in Kenya right now it is more, befitting to advocate for the girl child than advocate for the boy child. You get even more sponsorship if you're saying that I'm fighting for the girl child than you say I'm fighting for the boy child, because we somehow, which is actually not true, and that's my school of thought. Somehow we believe the boy child is more advantaged than the girl child, and therefore it is better to advocate for the girl child than we should be advocating for the boy child. So my school of thought is that we are an African culture before everything, before we start thinking what is happening at the moment, we first of all need to understand our society is an African society. We have our own beliefs, we have our own way of doing things before these outside cultures affected us. Therefore, after that, we now start understanding how are we supposed to move on after we have anchored ourselves to the fact that we are an African culture. From there now we start moving forward in terms of how are we supposed to solve A, B, C, D. For instance, how are we supposed to solve aggression towards women? There are men outside there who they're so aggressive, they just kill women just for the sake of it because they have, they are powerful. And something else that I'm saying, we need to understand that men are naturally aggressive. It's a fact. Men are naturally, men are just, the way they have been built is that men are powerful in terms of strength. That's why they're able to hack someone, they do this stuff kind of thing. So we need to first of all start understanding from there. And then we come to a fact that understand that men are, men are also human beings. Before we do anything else, we also need to understand men are also human beings. So if we come to a situation whereby we need to advocate and understand, and try to solve these kind of things, we need to involve these men and these women on the same sitting. Like this situation we are here, we have women and men discussing the same thing. So next time we are doing the same thing somewhere else, or next time we are discussing empowering a woman for that matter, or a girl child, probably we should have men in that same room.
When he says we've adopted foreign culture...
Let me correct you. I didn't say we adopted, I say we are being affected. Actually, it's like we are being corrupted. We are not adopting, we are being corrupted. Bottom line, you're an African. It doesn't matter. When you go back home, you find your mother and your father, they will tell you what they learned back in 1960s. Yeah. They don't tell you what you're learning now.
Which is, when it in relevance to what you are discussing today, let me just start by saying nothing in this world, nothing will ever justify murder, period. I don't care if it's a woman, a child, or a man, nothing. It's only God who gives life, and it's only God who can take it. I don't care how hurt you've been. We've all been hurt. It's a choice to take an axe and cut somebody without remorse. Let me also say, a lot has been blamed on this issue. People have come up, as he's saying, about culture, which to me hasn't. Well, I think you're going to give him a chance to explain more. What has culture got to do with somebody murdering another person? But also, I saw a discussion whereby they said the girl child has been empowered, as he say, and left the boy child behind. For me, those are excuses. The same way, when you want to justify violence against women, use their sexuality. Let's go back. Remember when Ivy was hacked with an axe, which was the story which first circulated? You are an influencer online, which was the first story. The reason was she infected the guy with HIV. Where were those facts coming from? It was immediately a story was cooked to make this woman immoral. And the minute people deem you immoral, it's okay for you to die, which is sad. These are the same people who think when you go to Koinange Street and pick a prostitute, you can kill her and it's okay. You don't have the right to take life, period. So I don't buy this excuse of, there's no excuse for murder, period. And when you say the boy child has been left behind, I asked the other day on my wall on Facebook, who are you giving this responsibility? Women have clawed their way to be where we are. We fought our way. We fought even to be heard, even at home. There are even today communities who think women are children and you're not supposed to think. We didn't just come here. This fight, we weren't handed it on a platter, and we are still fighting. Even in developed countries, women are fighting for equal pay. We are still fighting. For me, men sat down in their patriarchal cocoons and got comfortable. Sorry. And it's not my responsibility to raise your child. It's not the responsibility of the government. If you're a man, it's your responsibility to instill positive masculinity in your child. That's my opinion.
James, are you in some cocoon?
I'm not sure. I'm quite nervous, though. I don't know where we think men are naturally stronger. I suppose maybe in DNA and everything else, but I think if you try and affect a lady's child or any of those things, you'll see aggression and you'll see a natural strength that is far beyond. So I think I think having natural aggression, particularly coming from a soldier background, that's fine. However, it's contained and it needs to be educated, it needs to be developed. We need to look at behavioural. Just because you're strong doesn't mean you can beat someone to death. That's not how aggression is meant to be. It's not how it's meant to be controlled. On the culture side, I think we need to understand it a little bit better, because particularly the West coming in and the different parts, I don't think there's any culture that really says we can beat women to death, or there are not many around the world. I think we need to get in at a younger age, probably in the C8, Form 4, both on the male side and female side, just about behavioural growth, as in how to control anger, how a relationship doesn't mean the end of the world if it ends, as in you'll get through it. We've all been broken, we've all got back up again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you need to murder that ex-person, or it doesn't mean you take that aggression out. So I think even controlling your own behaviour, how do we deal with it? How do we teach those skills at a younger age? How do we redevelop some of that culture as into a more, let's say, less aggressive nature? Because naturally, if you look at the history of man, it was caveman, was the aggressor, he was the hunter, and the lady would be at home. Well, that culture's gone, and people have educated, the world has grown. But in there is still a natural human aggression that we need to teach people how to control that aggression, how to deal with their emotions, particularly the first instant. When that first breakup is happening, when the very first few hours, how do they step out of that red mist zone, should we say, where they are angry, where they are aggressive? Maybe it is with associations, maybe it's with online platforms, helplines to call and different things. So I think the younger we can educate, the easier it is as they get older. Yeah.
Building on what I had said about culture, I've heard James say that you know, the caveman and, you know, hunting and gathering and all that is all gone. I know you've been here in Kenya. There are some things that we still do in Kenya, and she mentioned something that there's some things that some of our people do, and when you go there, you know, you find out that some of these things are, you know, are from the back age. I mean, they've gone by time. What I want to say is that we still practice a lot of African heritage, and we are still affected by that. We might sit here and try to be like, no, they don't affect us. But by the end of the day, I stay in Nairobi, you stay in Nairobi, you feel that you're liberated. But by the time you go back home, if Nairobi is not your, you know, your home, maybe home is up country. When you go back there, you find out that people are still practicing some of the things that you here in Nairobi still feel that you don't want to practice them. So that's why I'm saying we still have our culture. And I'm a proponent of believing that, and I didn't say that the Western culture is coming to corrupt us in a way that it wants us to hurt people. No. I was simply saying, building on that, and I said we are somehow confused, because you find someone who has been, since he or she was born, has been taught some, you know, some African kind of way of living, and then somehow he finds a new way of living that is more Western. So you find someone, most of Kenyans somehow actually in between there. They still believe some of our African beliefs, and some say we are liberated, like that one has gone by time, is outdated, and I can't do it. So, and I say something that I didn't say actually that these kind of confusion or being corrupted by other cultures is making us hack people. And I want to correct here on live that I didn't say that because men are literally stronger than women. I mean, by strength, I mean by muscle and stuff like that, we should hack people. I didn't say that. Actually, what I meant is, in building towards ensuring we have a society where men respect women and women respect men, we need to start understanding. Basically, we need to start understanding what we call the foundation. We have the culture. That's why I started talking about the culture. Some of these things affect us fundamentally, and we don't see it. We also, I also talked about you know, having men and women in the same room when we are discussing these issues. My school of thought, I believe that the way we've been doing this stuff is a bit wrong, and the panel here can correct me. Most of what we've been seeing here in this country is a situation whereby we have very aggressive women who are aggressively advocating for a girl child in a very aggressive manner, which is somehow okay. But I believe, and I come from a school of thought where I believe that instead of aggressively advocating for the girl child, get a boy child and a girl child, sit them together in the same house and talk to them. Teach this girl to respect the man and teach this man to respect the values of the woman. Let's get all of us together, seated down like this, and discuss the values instead of getting women into a house or into a conference or into a seminar and tell them about their rights. Get men into that same room.
But let me ask, why do you think that women needed to create conferences in the first place? Why? Because initially they were excluded. Not that you feel you're marginalized, in quotes, because there's never a single day a man will ever be marginalized more than a woman or oppressed more than a woman. It's like a woman saying a disabled person, the woman has been empowered and a disabled person has been empowered, or people living with disability, and left the women behind. That's crazy. The disabled people or people living with disability are still fighting for even getting a ramp. Yeah. So if a woman stands up and says it's preposterous, it's like what he's trying to say. And I have an issue with when let me tell you what happens when you say something, when you talk about culture. There's somebody somewhere who is listening and uses that as an excuse. I don't think in Africa, in traditional African society, or even in other cultures, maybe abroad or wherever, there's a culture which thinks it's okay for a woman, for a man to kill a woman. Even if we go, I think there's something you're trying to say, but you're not saying.
No, let me finish. No, the problem is I don't get time to finish my point. I said I'm building on it because when she speaks, she actually inputs something wrong into what I'm saying. This is the point. I've talked about culture. It is so diverse. If you bring a Muslim here, if a Muslim woman commits adultery, she's killed. Yeah. So let's not try to dismiss culture. We are on an African setting. We had some values that were inculcated into us, and some of these culture and some of these values, African values, affect how we think. And not everybody. Some of the people have been liberated. That's what I'm trying to say. But there are some people who have not been liberated. And I'm not saying someone to use that as an excuse. We are trying to find a solution. I didn't come here to excuse people to kill others. I came here to try and find a solution. And in finding a solution, you must go to the root cause of the problem. Some of us, we were born somewhere, okay, maybe Kwanzaa 1985 coming forward. Yes. Then we have most of our parents from 1960, 50s. Coming forward, then we have the people who are born in 2000. No, 2000. You see, so you find someone who was born in 2000. Those are the ones being killed. Like maybe your child knows more than you. No, because nowadays things are so easy to access. Then kuna wale wa 1985 kujambele, some of us now, we are completely affected by our traditional, because 1990s, but everything was like intact. Traditional values and all that was still intact.
Mutai, the girls being killed out of these relationships they're not a day past 30.
But let's talk about the real issue. Let's talk about Sharon. Sharon was stabbed in the stomach.
7 times.
Like by a grown man. No, listen. I want to get this straight. This is your child. You stab your child in the womb. Yeah. Please tell me okay. I need, like, seriously, which culture, which religion, whatever, I do not care. Yeah. Which excuses that? Yeah. And this is somebody you are supposed to love. Yeah. I don't care if it's your mistress.
And I want us to touch on that love thing.
But I think I want Rita. Rita, I want us to have a common ground, because I realize we are almost saying the same thing, but we are somehow
different sides of the coin.
So, so let me try to come to where you are. Let me try to come to where you are.
But let me come first of all to you.
Just a minute, Christy.
We have different opinions, which is okay.
Rita.
We are here to have a conversation.
Rita, let me try to come to where you are.
You can't patronize me. You want to tell me, let's have, no, do your thing, I do mine, he does.
You see, that's the problem we have in Kenya. When you tell someone, do your thing, I do mine, we will never get there.
But Mutai, why haven't the men done their thing?
But we are not doing it.
My opinion cannot be yours, and yours cannot be mine.
Listen, you guys are making it look like because men haven't done it, therefore women only should do it.
No.
Yeah, thank you. No. Listen then. Let me try to find a common ground. You are saying, since men are, men have already done, men are not doing it, women are already doing it, So there's no need to go for the girl child. Let me give your organization a challenge. Voice, let me give you a challenge. Go to a high school, don't go talk to girls. Go put boys in the same room, talk to them about values of a woman. Go to a high school, do that.
Mutai,
There are already
she can
people
do that.
doing it.
She can do that.
We
No, I'm
partner
not
with
saying she
people who are
can't do
doing
it.
it.
I'm not saying she can't do it. We have less people doing it. That's the
Less
problem.
people.
Especially those
Okay,
who are supposed
let
to
me
do it.
pose a question to him. You, I want to, like, I see you're passionate about the men.
No.
Or
Don't
you're
get me
not.
wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm passionate about human beings, both boys and girls.
So at the moment you're doing nothing.
No, I'm doing a
about
lot.
them.
She knows. I'm doing
So
a
what
lot.
are you
That's
doing?
why I'm
I want
sitting
to
here
know.
with you. I'm
And that's what I want him
To talk about.
to talk about.
Yes,
You're
I'm
not
trying to
talking
talk about.
it.
I'm trying to
You're
tell
talking
you guys.
about culture.
No.
You're
I
just
thought you guys,
sticking to
but I thought
culture.
you guys wanted us to, like find the problems we are facing. Find the real problems you are facing. No, you go ahead and say, we have this and this and this, but you don't realize the reason why we have this and this and this is because of our culture. Educate
We have
people
to
about
look
that culture.
forward. Let me tell you, the women, umesema vizuri, we can't ignore culture. It's there. But
True.
it doesn't mean you stay in those cocoons. If we did that, I'll still be at my village cooking mudokoi.
Which I agree. And I'm saying, for
But
those
my
who are still in
parents
that
took me to
cocoon,
school and
why
they were
don't
the
we
parents
get,
in the 50s.
then why don't we get those who are in those cocoons out of it?